Go. We're back. Took us 2 weeks. Last episode was, the playoff predictions, and it's already time for the Super Bowl. So took a little leave of absence, but we are all back, and we actually do have Frank back with us. He's back, like what they said when Klay Thompson returned. He's back.
Yeah, he's back for good until he has another injury. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
until another injury happens. We have Frank, we have Ethan, we have Khalil. Everyone's here, so the boys are back in town,
The
and
boys are back in town.
we're here to bring another good episode of NBA analysis. We're shifting more over to the basketball spectrum. It's obviously Pro Bowl week, I guess, if you want to call it Pro Bowl week. I'm not watching the Pro Bowl. I don't know if you guys are going to watch the Pro Bowl, but
No one's watching the Pro
there's
Bowl.
no way you could pay me to.
Hey, but isn't Derek Carr playing in the Pro Bowl?
Exactly why I'm not
I thought
watching
that
the
was
Pro
I thought
Bowl.
that was so funny, bro.
The dude who
Tyler,
got benched for Jarrett Stidham, they're like, yeah, he's a
Yes.
Pro Bowler.
That's crazy.
no, because how Tyler Huntley made it doesn't make sense. It's
Yeah, I'm. You want me to watch Tyler Huntley play flag football? Oh yeah,
Hey,
you're.
but hold up. What are they wearing in the Pro Bowl?
I don't know. They haven't announced the jerseys, but they're not going to wear like full jerseys anymore because it's flag football. So I don't imagine the jerseys will be very good.
Oh, so they're not gonna, so like Derek Carr won't have like a little Raiders thing on his thing.
Oh, they'll probably have like a little logo on it, but they're not going to have pads on. So it's going to be like t-shirts, I would imagine. T-shirts and shorts.
Last time Derek Carr's a Raider.
tank tops.
Tank tops?
No way.
No, like fitted tank top.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I guess so. I don't know. It's just hard to make a good football jersey that's not an actual football jersey.
Yeah.
Um,
The other alternative though is just a regular jersey, just no
Right.
pad.
That's true. They could honestly do that and it really wouldn't do anything. It honestly would probably make more sense. Because you can wear a football jersey padless. It just looks a little like huffy.
Little
Yeah, it's weird.
puffy, but it's fine.
It is also kind of funny that the AFC quarterbacks ended up being worse than the NFC quarterbacks, even though the whole year everyone was talking about how the AFC's quarterback group was so much better than the NFC's. And now the NFC's quarterback group actually looks way better than the AFC's does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because people just opted out of the.
Yeah.
There's no.
I mean,
point.
it doesn't really matter. I'm pretty sure this is how it works, but if you get awarded a Pro Bowl, you still get it, even if you don't play. Like Josh Allen on his Football Reference, it's still going to say Pro Bowler, even if he didn't participate.
Yeah.
I would imagine that's how it works.
Right. Just like the NBA All-Star, you're still an All-Star if you don't play and all that.
Right. Like Kevin Durant is still going to get an All-Star this year, even though he's probably not going to end up playing this year, unfortunately.
Right. Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler is an All-Star this year. So speaking of NFC quarterbacks, there's one NFC quarterback that is no longer a quarterback, no longer in the NFC, no longer in the NFL. Tom Brady retiring, part 2. How over under 30 days is he staying retired?
Over.
I'm taking the under. You got to look at history. History says Tom doesn't stay retired. He took a little 3-week break and then he came back. So,
honestly, I'd hope he unretire again. That'd be the greatest thing.
It'd be so funny if he
It'd be
just
so funny
a second time.
But
Unretired, go to the Raiders.
That's what I want. I was so pissed, man. You have no idea, because I wanted him to come to the Raiders and save our team.
You guys can get Jimmy Garoppolo or bring back Derek Carr.
I'd do that.
NFL Pro Bowler Derek Carr is coming back to the Raiders after his elite Pro Bowl performance in the flag football match. They really changed their mind. So yeah, Tom's out. I think that completely removes that era of NFL quarterbacks, I would imagine, unless you consider Rodgers. Yeah, Rodgers would probably still be that era, but Rodgers is the only one left at this point. Or Wilson. I mean, I think Wilson is slightly after them. So yeah, Rodgers is the last one to this point, and who knows where he's going to be. I mean, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to retire. It seemed more in his last game or in the game against Detroit that it was more of a he's probably not playing here thing. Rather than this is probably his last game. But who knows? Aaron Rodgers is a pretty unpredictable guy. So,
I mean, since we're talking about Russell Wilson, I could see him retiring kind of soon, sooner than Aaron Rodgers. But because Well, his performances hasn't been playing out well.
Shoot. I mean, the only thing for Russ is he's under contract for so long. Like, if I was him, even if I suck, I'm playing. I want my money. Like,
No, he's still gonna get paid if he retires.
oh yeah. So
It's
hey, you
true.
might as well go sit on the beach with Sierra and do something, bro. Like,
Well, what Brady should have done was play like one last season, and he makes so much money, like you have no idea.
yeah, someone would have overpaid him. The Jet. Well, I don't think Tom Brady would ever go to the Jets. That kind
Well,
of
like, well, yeah, like like a 1 year deal, you know, like this is my last season. You get sellout crowds, like all that thing,
right.
like make it big. But now it's just like he just put a little video. He's like, I can't be emotional twice. So
The video was so funny. He was just like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna get straight to the point. I'm retiring." I wonder if he announced it to his team beforehand. Because imagine you're like Mike Evans and you wake up one morning and you see a video on social media and it's just your star quarterback being like, "You know what, guys, I'm done. I'm not playing anymore."
Not
uh,
going up to the
Yeah.
showing up to the Bucks facility, hyped up, train, practice, all that, and then like waiting for Tom. Bro's not there. Everyone's calling Tom. And
Where's
Tom
Tom?
posts that,
Where's Tom
where's
at?
Tom?
and then you're like,
Checked your phone. Oh, guys, yeah. Can't be emotional twice. I'm done. I'm not playing anymore. I'm retiring
"Fuck
from
off,
like, that's so that was just it was really random too. That was the last thing I was expecting to find out today that Tom Brady was retiring again. But I mean, congrats to him. There's nothing that can really be said. He's done everything that there is to be done. Like the only thing Tom Brady hasn't done is win Defensive Player of the Year. So I mean, if he wants to come back and play edge rusher maybe for a year and check that off, there's nothing else for him to prove. He's undisputably the greatest of all time. Even if you think there's quarterbacks that are better than him, like skill wise, greatness, he did it. Like the dude threw for almost 100,000 passing yards. So I like,
Yeah, that's crazy.
I
well,
mean, he's him."
yeah. Well, that's enough NFL talk for now. We're focusing on the NBA, as I said before. Bye bye, Tom. It's been a nice career. Glad you're gone. I was a bit tired of watching him play football. I was over it. But on to the NBA, and as for the NBA, more in the aspect of the trade market, which is very weird right now. I don't know if you guys noticed that when you guys were trying to make your trades, but things are very weird
Yeah,
when it
it's
comes to
weird.
NBA trades. But as we speak, it is February 1st. There are 8 days until the NBA trade deadline, and there have only been 2 trades this season. I think Noah Vonleh got traded, and Roy Hachimura got traded. And Noah Vonleh got traded like in November, I think. So nothing's really happened as far as moves go. So hopefully teams in the next couple days start making some sort of moves because I do think there are a lot of teams that need to make moves, but just with how close the standings are, no one's really doing anything. I mean, especially in the West, the Thunder, who are the 11th seed, are 2 games shy of the 6th seed. So I mean, like things are really tight. So I feel like a lot of teams are kind of like, oh, we could win, so let's not move anything. But I don't know if
Yeah,
you have any takes on the trade market at the moment.
it's weird. I feel like in the past years it was kind of not like easy to predict, but like you felt like something was happening. And the trades have been pretty good. And like at least 2 years ago it was really good. I know for sure. And it was just like yeah, it's definitely packed in the West for sure because there's just so many good teams, and you don't. It's hard to really say who would win. I would say
Mm-hmm.
like obviously there's one seeds, but that doesn't really tell everything. Um,
Right.
People can make moves, but maybe they won't. You know what I'm saying? Like if every team just did nothing, you know,
It'd be very disappointing if that was how things played out.
right?
I think there's no way that happens. I think for sure we'll see the bottom teams make some sort of move.
To sell, yeah,
Yeah, the selling teams will make moves. I don't know if all of the buyers are going to go out of their way to make moves that aren't, small, like moves that aren't with the sellers. I think the sellers may be the only ones who really make any moves. But there's a lot of teams in that middle tier where it's like you're not really a contender. which is not bad. That
Yeah,
I don't know if a lot of them are going to be making moves just
like
because. Yeah,
like the Bulls.
the
Or previous
Bulls.
where we talked about teams on deciding their decisions, whether they should buy in or sell. Check
Right.
out previous podcast.
So, there's just a lot of teams that are really just in a weird spot. Also, a lot of teams don't have cap space. I noticed that when I was trying to make trades. I think there's only 3 teams with positive cap space, and those are the Grizzlies, the Pacers, and I
Rockets.
think the Pistons or the
Oh.
Rockets. You said
I don't know. Rockets aren't. They don't seem like they're paying. Wait, was it the Rockets? Maybe it was someone else. Go ahead. Go
there's
ahead.
one other team, but like everyone else is negative in the cap by a lot. It's not like there's
Yeah.
teams that are negative by 10 million. No, there are teams negative by like 40, 50 million dollars. So
Right.
if you're the Warriors, you're negative by 70. So I
It's the Spurs, Pacers, Magic, Grizzlies. That's it.
yeah, everyone else is in negative. I think the Pistons are close though. They're like maybe a few 100,000 negative.
Only 900,000.
Yeah. So, there's
Expensive.
a lot of things to take into consideration when you're crafting these trades. I've got a few trades. I think we're gonna all go around, grade these trades from each team's perspective, and if this is something that's realistic, something that we think should happen, or if someone's if you're not for that trade, give your reason as to why. I have a pretty good variety of trades. I think you guys said you do as well. I have some more like small role player deals, and then I have one pretty big deal, and then some fringe all-star type players maybe, depending on how you feel about those guys. But I have a good variety of moves, and I think I'm gonna go first. The first trade I have, very small. You learn something new every day. I didn't know, because I play 2K, that you can actually trade injured players. Didn't know that. The thing is with trading injured players, the rule is the other team needs to know the extent to that injury. So it's understood by everyone in the league that Danilo Gallinari, who was in this trade, has torn his ACL. He's not playing this year. The Pistons know that, so they can trade for Danilo Gallinari. There's nothing against that.
Right.
Which is an interesting aspect because that gives the Celtics a $6 million contract that they can move. So in this trade, I have the Celtics trading Danilo Gallinari and Justin Jackson, who's on a expiring $2 million deal in 2 seconds to the Detroit Pistons for Nerlens Noel. The Celtics are already one of the best teams in the league. The only issue, and not really even an issue, I think they have is they don't really have a backup big, like a really big center who can protect the paint. Obviously, you have Al Horford, who can kind of play the 5, but at his age, I don't really want him as my tall center in the playoffs. Nerlens Noel is someone who we know can, play the 5 and play really good defense. I feel like he's someone who's kind of gone under the radar as a player contending team should go after. So I have them trading Gallinari, Justin Jackson, in 2 seconds, which actually neither of them are theirs. One of them is via Portland and another is via Orlando. So that Orlando second round pick is basically a first. I mean, it's going to be high second round. So that's pretty good value for Nerlens Noel to me.
My take on that, I agree with it because the Celtics do need 5 depth. Like, sure, you can throw Allen there, but he wouldn't do like a quality job compared to Nerlens Noel. And with Rob Will only being 6'8", I know that's tall, but they need that bigger type player, especially if they're going to go against Giannis every year.
Right. Indeed, like it makes sense, I feel like, for both sides. And for the Pistons, obviously, you get draft capital and you get Gallinari, who's on a 2-year, $6 million contract. He's not playing this year. He might come back next year, but even if that's the case, it's a 1-year, probably $3 million contract, or maybe it's $6 million per year. The way it's formatted, I don't really know. But either way, the Pistons aren't going to be good next year. I'm pretty confident the Pistons are not going to be that good next year to where they're going to be like, dang, this contract is really limiting what we can do as a team. And I feel like even then, Gallinari wasn't someone who played based off of his like athleticism. So you can still trade him again next year. So,
I mean, if anything though, like $6 million isn't a lot compared to other people's contracts.
Right, it's nothing.
It'll be easy to flip anyways.
Right,
and for a shooter like
It's good quality.
Yeah,
6 mil for a shooter is good quality for sure.
right. And he has size too, so
Yeah. Um,
Lakers
this
is
is
most definitely buy into that, but
right.
like
they don't have enough to give up for it.
Right. And he's injured, so I mean, like, not a lot you can really do. Yeah.
yeah. Let's see, the Celtics, yeah, they don't. I like the trade though because Celtics have nothing to lose. Like they're not giving up anything that they
Really
need
at
at
all.
all. Like an injured player, someone that doesn't play, and then a couple seconds, which you're not going to need.
Of which are even theirs. That's the crazy thing.
Right. Yeah, and then Nerlens Noel, like obviously, of course, you have Horford, like you were saying, but to have Nerlens Noel, who's obviously he's had better years, but to have someone like who has size and could like his main goal is to play defense, like that's his role. I think that's pretty good. They do have Luke Cornett on the team. He's a big man, but Nerlens Noel, I'd rather have him than Cornett. So
Right.
you want him playing instead. So I like it.
And also with Nerlens Noel, it's a 2-year, $9 million contract. It's not a lot of money either. So you're going to have him for this year, next year. I think it's contractually, it makes a lot of sense. The Pistons would free up about $600,000 in cap space. So it also does alleviate some room. And they're getting an expiring deal. So obviously the Pistons are, I think, last in the East. The 1 seed, the playoffs is out of reach for them at this point. They would literally have to win every game from this point to even have a chance. So yeah, I think this deal, it just makes a little bit of sense for both teams. I don't know who wants to go next with their kind of small deal.
Don't you got a lot?
I do. I've like 7. So I don't have another
small one. You have another small one?
Let's see. Small, my second smallest one. Oh yeah, this is my second smallest one. Actually, this one is really small. The Thunder and the Jazz are gonna make a deal. I got a little bit of bias. I mean, there's a lot of Thunder fans right now who are like, "Hey, we should probably start, losing some games, getting this lottery race." But I'm kind of in the group that wants us to kind of make a playoff push. I think it's gonna be really hard to get one of those high lottery spots, especially because the teams that are ahead of, or one of the teams that are ahead of us, is the Jazz, and they're gonna be sellers at the deadline. So I imagine the Jazz are gonna be moving down. And that kind of takes where we are. Like we're going to trade off our spot essentially. So we're pretty much, to me, out of the really high lottery race. And that's just in the West. We're not going to be worse than the Pistons, Hornets, or Magic. And depending on what the Raptors do at the deadline, they could also be like serious sellers. So it's kind of a tough situation where it's probably in our best interest to make a trade to compete. The biggest issue to me with the Thunder roster is obviously we don't have a center. We have Mike Muscala, who's more of a stretch 5 who doesn't really play much interior defense.
Yeah.
We have Jeremiah Robinson Earl, who's more of a small ball 5, and Jalen Williams, J Will, not J Dub, who's another small ball center. So when I was looking for a center, which is what I traded for, a big, I was looking for a few things. I wanted someone who could run the floor, someone who was, able to play multiple places, and someone who was on a cheaper deal. Those reasons being the Thunder like to play in fast break. We love to run down the court. We have a lot of, high flying dudes. Another reason, I don't want to tie up a lot of money into anyone just because it's like, unless we're getting someone elite, I don't think we're that close to being a championship team to where we should trade for some like super established big. And I also wanted someone who could play multiple positions because obviously the dude who would be playing center, Chet Holmgren, is out this year. And we need someone who could hypothetically play next to Chet Holmgren, whether that's at the 4 or maybe coming off the bench. So the guy I decided to go after was Jared Vanderbilt from Utah.
Yeah, he's good.
Obviously, the Jazz are going to want to flip their assets for any sort of picks they can get. And if there was a team that had a pick they could just really throw away and not really feel any sort of consequence, it'd be the Thunder. So the trade is really small. It's Darius Baisley and a first-round pick via the Clippers from 2024. And then the Thunder get Jared Vanderbilt. So pretty much a swap. The contracts are nearly the same. The Thunder would lose $55,000 in cap space, and the Jazz would gain $55,000 in cap space. I think Jared is someone who would fit well next to SGA, Josh Giddey. He can play defense. He can catch lobs. He's not really the greatest floor spacer, but we saw when he was in Minnesota, right when you put him next to actual big, he can play really well. When he was next to Cat, he was a very solid player for them, and I think he's kind of also gone under the radar as someone that teams should try and get, even if the asking price might be a little high.
Okay.
Very small deal though. I don't think it moves the needle for either team very much.
Jared Vanderbilt's pretty young though, isn't he?
He is on the younger side. The thing is with that, the Jazz, I think I read somewhere, they want to get the equivalent of a first-round pick in return for Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, and I believe Jared Vanderbilt was the third person who was on the block for them. So, I mean, we're going to literally give them a first-round pick. That's why I was kind of like.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, it'll be more of a move for the future, which makes sense.
Mhm.
And it benefits both parties, which is ideal, I guess, for a trade. And I like it.
Okay.
Your turn. One of you guys go. Small, if you guys have a small deal.
I guess it's small. So basically, the Knicks are going to receive Sadiq Bey for Cam Reddish and a first. The pick could be debatable. It's the first via Detroit. So it'll be like, oh, wait. No, hold on. Oh,
It might be protected, so.
Wait, they're picked back.
Mm-hmm.
So you're receiving Cam Reddish and then they're picked back for Sadiq Bey. So pretty much the logic behind it is like they have a young team, I guess, and like Cade's pretty much out for the season, I believe, right?
He's done.
Yeah.
And Cam Reddish is someone who isn't like the youngest, but he's on the younger side. And I'm believing him. I don't know if any other teams do. I mean, I think the Knicks did, which is why they traded for him from the Hawks.
Yeah.
And the Knicks need that wing type depth in Sadiq Bey. And I think he would really complement their team, especially in like late game closing situations, because right now the Knicks are the 7th seed. And they are on the brink of the play-in by 3 games. Like it's not really a situation you want to be in, and they would want to win more games to avoid that situation. And they get that depth in Sadiq Bey, who just randomly blew up for 50 last year, so he has the potential to blow up. And yeah, it gives Detroit their pick back and a future possible project, although his contract is expiring. But both contracts are really cheap.
Yeah. I like it. I mean, I think the Knicks were one of those teams where I wanted to make a trade. I just really couldn't find anything I was in love with. That's something that I didn't think of in Sadiq Bey as being someone who would get moved. He is a very solid player. I think you were right in saying that he could help in those closing situations. And the asking price of what Cam Reddish and a first, I think that's a fair, thing to, give out, because the Knicks have like 3 first-round picks this year. They don't need all 3. They're not a rebuilding team, so I think they do need to make some moves with those picks. Obviously, they try to get OG Anunoby, so clearly they are looking for some sort of wing depth. And if you can't get OG, maybe you look at the Pistons, who might have a slightly lower asking price just because they're probably more desperate to get that player off the team or get something in return for that player. Cam Reddish, a lot of people have different opinions on him. I'm maybe a little hesitant to trade Cam Reddish for Sadiq Bey just because I think there might be another team that's a little more desperate to trade for Cam Reddish, like the Lakers. That's the main team I'm thinking of. Now, if you have the option of the Sadiq Bey thing, or the Lakers come to you and they offer even one of those first-round picks, I'm taking the Laker deal just because I think those first-round picks are more valuable, even if you don't get that player in return, just because the Knicks aren't necessarily a contending team like that either. So I think I'm kind of like, I think it's a good deal though. I think I would give it like a B for both sides, B+ for both sides, probably.
Personally, I think that, first of all, if Knicks get offered this trade, you take that right away. I think the Pistons should not offer that. Sadiq Bey, I think, is more valuable than Cam Reddish in a pick, in my opinion. He's averaging 15 and like 5 rebounds,
Hear me out.
assist.
Cam Reddish, and 2 picks.
That's too much.
Oh, okay. So it's too little when it's 1, but then when I add 1 more, it's like
well, yeah, because 1 pick, you're like, say 15. You're giving him a 15-point scorer who's young. I just don't. The
But
Knicks.
then again, with the Pistons specifically, they have Cade, who's not playing. He's gonna make up that 15 points next year, and then they have Jaden Ivey, and they're also the worst team in the NBA. So they're probably obviously with the new lottery odds, who knows? But at the moment, they are projected to get Victor Wembanyama. So, and if they don't get Victor, they're gonna get Scoot Henderson. So I mean, like,
Yeah, but who you gonna replace at that wing though? I think Sadiq Bey is like he's like a tall wing. He can shoot, play defense a little bit.
He's really good.
I don't know. I think he's untouchable.
Untouchable is
okay. Well, okay, not untouchable, but like you ain't trying to
take. Give a good asking price to get Sadiq Bey.
Yeah, you're not giving up like some little
Cam Reddish.
Yeah, Cam Reddish. He's been to so many teams, passed around. He's had some good games, but it's just not.
2 teams.
Huh?
He's been on 2 teams. He went to the Hawks.
I don't know. Seems like a lot more to me.
He's been on a lot of benches. That's what he's been on. He's been on the sideline in a lot of different NBA arenas.
That's right. Yeah, I'm on. I'd say no to that. But if you're the Knicks, I think you take that deal. If the Pistons are willing to give him up for sure.
Okay. If you had to give it a grade, what are you giving it?
The Knicks an A+.
Okay.
The Pistons maybe like a C. It really depends on the draft. The draft pick, or maybe you get like a first and a second, or like.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That Pistons first might also be protected, so I think the Pistons technically do have that first. I mean, I would imagine it's protected. It would be crazy if the Pistons traded an unprotected first to the Knicks, knowing that they were going to be this bad. So it's probably protected. They would probably have to trade one of the other 2. I think it's a Dallas and another one.
Yeah.
A Dallas and Oklahoma City, maybe, or a Dallas and maybe a LA. I don't know. They would probably have to trade one of those 2.
Washington.
Dallas, they have Washington's first.
Yeah, they have Washington's first.
I hope that's protected too. They would probably trade that Dallas first for this deal, and probably a second, like Frank was saying, just to kind of move it over the top, because Sadiq Bey does do a lot of things on the court.
So you're saying that then Pistons would have their pick plus the Dallas pick plus another second.
Yeah.
And you get Cam Reddish and you try to give away Sadiq. So maybe that sounds pretty good
for the
Pistons.
A little more enticing.
It does. So
the Pistons would also have their initial first. And then it's like it says first round via Detroit. So would that be like 2 firsts that are
no,
that
no, that's not. Detroit does not have 2 Detroit picks.
The Pistons got 2 picks in the draft.
But in the first pick,
Victor Wembanyama.
Straight away.
Scoot Henderson.
The Pistons have 2 stars now. Draft lottery's rigged.
First, but on the Knicks, they have Detroit's first.
I think like I said, it's protected. So the Pistons technically have their first, but under certain protection or under a certain like placing, obviously the Knicks would get it. There's no way the Pistons traded their first to the Knicks. There is no way.
Okay.
Frank, what's your first trade? Give us your smallest one.
Smallest one. Okay. Yeah.
LeBron to the Celtics.
Why did you say that? Let's see. I have a trade that like two ass people for like someone good, but that's just like the one good person. I'll save it for later. All right. So Memphis needs a wing, is what my thinking was, because they got a bunch of guards. They got John Morant, Tyus Jones, Desmond Bain, Conch. Maybe not Conch. Conch is
kind of like a guard wing. Yeah, he's on the team, but he's like a hybrid.
Anyway, so I was like, they need more wings, because like obviously they have Zaire, they have Dylan Brooks, but I can't even remember another one.
Yeah, it's just those 2. Like they don't have the depth. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So, and I was like, so I paired Memphis with a selling team, the Hornets.
Oh, good. Is it Gordon Hayward?
No.
Oh,
Okay, first of all, Gordon Hayward makes $30 million.
Gordon Hayward is untradeable. I didn't
He's
even
untradeable.
think about it.
Memphis
I was
Memphis
like,
does
there's
not
no
want
way.
him. So we got Memphis trading Zaire Williams and
Uh-oh.
Danny Green for the salary.
Danny Green made his debut today, so watch Danny Green drop 25, and their wing solution is solved.
He ain't playing the playoffs. For Kelly Oubre, who's on the last year of his deal, I'm pretty sure. He makes like 12 million with Zaire Williams plus Danny Green's contract. That pretty much like adds up to 12 mil. It's pretty close, right? Memphis gets what they want. I mean, Charlotte's selling. They got Zaire that's locked up for like 3 years. So that's something. He has some potential, right?
Right.
I don't think Memphis really needs him at this point because you're trying to make a championship run. Really, like you don't need Zaire. You'd rather have someone to help you now, like Kelly Oubre, who's averaging like 12 to 15 points. I thought
at one point he was averaging 20 this year. I don't think
but he's a very like talented. He's a very good player.
Right.
Danny Green had 3.
He has 3 points.
Who?
But he had 3 points.
Who?
Danny Green.
Oh yeah.
40. Again,
He definitely wasn't playing.
he played 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Oh yeah, that's not what they need. But anyway, that was my smaller trade. But I think it's pretty impactful for Memphis because Kelly Oubre is pretty decent player.
I'm gonna be honest. Reasoning. I like Zaire Williams though. I think he's really good defensively. More so than
he is.
Kelly Oubre is. I think Kelly Oubre, right position, wrong kind of player. I think Kelly Oubre is really good scorer. I think they kind of need like a Jay Crowder kind of wing. That's kind of the type of wing I was thinking for Memphis, more so than someone who could score. Because I think they have guys who can score the ball. I think they have Ja, they have Desmond Bain, who every time I see a picture of him, it's the funniest thing ever just because of the way he's built. Aaron Jackson here. Tyus Jones can go crazy every once in a while. I think they need more of like a Josh Richardson, Jay Crowder, kind of more backseat role kind of wing. I think Kelly Oubre is someone who teams should target. I don't know if Memphis is the team. So me personally, I'm probably giving Memphis a C on that one. And I'm giving, are there any picks involved for Charlotte or no? It's just players?
It's just players.
I think I'll give Charlotte a B just because I think you could get a little more for Kelly Oubre. And I think the Grizzlies could give a little less for Kelly Oubre. Like it's a little bit of both. I don't know.
Wait, okay, go ahead.
Okay, I think it's like a C+ for the Grizzlies. And then
Bro fell asleep.
and then like a B for the Hornets because they get like a young prospect in Zaire, and then like I think if they receive like a pick, it'll elevate that. But for Memphis, them just receiving Kelly Oubre, it doesn't really. I don't think it elevates them much.
Yeah, it doesn't do what I think they need most. Like I was saying, I think it needs to be a Jay Crowder or a Josh Richardson for me. Like that's the kind of wing I was more so thinking for Memphis. Kelly is definitely an interesting take though. I mean, I think they'd still be just as good as they are now. I just don't think it makes them better, really.
Yeah, it'll just be more of like a lateral move. That's it.
He provides better spacing. You guys are right. They probably wouldn't be too much better, but he does provide better spacing. And like imagine him having him on the court. When Ja's out, Bane's out. You got Tyus Jones. You got him. You got.
But then they don't have Zaire.
The rest of the bench, like
they don't have Zaire, but they have good defenders like Tillman and Jaren Jackson and Steven Adams. I think they got the bigs locked up. Honestly.
I'm gonna move it up to a B for Memphis because I completely forgot they had Dylan Brooks who starts at the 3 most of the time.
He starts at the 3, so I think he come off the bench as well.
I was thinking that Kelly Oubre was gonna start, and I didn't like that starting lineup that much. It seemed like a little too scoring heavy. I think I'll move it up to a B because off the bench, Kelly Oubre would be a really good option. So I'd still like Zaire Williams, But I think Zaire Williams and Dylan Brooks do a lot of similar things. And maybe if you're going for a championship push this year, you kind of want to have a lot of guys who can provide in big minutes. So I'll move it up to a B for Memphis. I didn't think about it from that lens.
Okay.
Me too.
Fine.
Because I forgot about Dylan Brooks.
Starting. I don't know how I completely forgot about their starting small forward who is always in the news for saying dumb things. Just force LeBron to go left. LeBron is literally left-handed. LeBron is a left-handed human being.
No, the whole
left.
the whole Stephen A. Not Stephen A. Smith. It was who was it? What?
Shannon Sharp, was it not?
Shannon Sharp. It was Shannon Sharp.
Oh yeah.
The whole thing was hilarious, man.
Dylan Brooks, the Memphis Grizzlies. There's a team.
Yeah.
You want to give us your first trade?
My
Wait,
first?
you gave us your one already. You gave us a Cam Reddish one. Give us another one.
All right. Let's go with this one. Okay. So this involves the Knicks and the Blazers.
Oh, you're on the Knicks. Let's just trade everyone.
I mean, they're gonna give up Derrick Rose and Obi Toppin and the Dallas first for Jeremy Grant. Again, I'm targeting that wing depth and Derrick Rose for the contract reasons and
Stop laughing, Khalil.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Would I make the trade? Yes, because I think the Blazers should blow it up, and I think the Blazers should have blown it up
My reason-
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Are the Blazers going to make that trade? No, they're not. I'm sorry. It's never going to happen because I think they already said they wanted to resign Jeremy Grant. But then again, they're so mediocre. I would trade Jeremy Grant.
They're gonna look to trade him.
Right. I mean, he already got offered. The thing is, the trade deadline is after the contract extension or before the contract extension deadline. So even if he never accepts his contract extension, the trade deadline would have already passed. So
I don't like that.
yeah, it should be the other way around. But
Really?
I mean, you said it was what for who? It was Jeremy Grant for
Rose.
Toppin and Rose.
For Jeremy Grant.
I like Obi Toppin. Getting Obi Toppin and a first is great as well.
Yeah, for sure.
There's more
Derrick
minutes.
Rose is on a 2-year deal, so I'm cool with that. I think it's a good trade. It's just not something the Blazers would do because they never seem to realize that they're mediocre.
Over the top for you. They get $1 million in cap.
Hey, they could bring in. Remember earlier this year, they were like, "We're going to build a championship winning team around Dame," and then they brought in Jeremy Grant and they brought in Gary Payton Jr. or the second.
Hey, don't disrespect Gary Payton II.
I know, but if you're saying I'm going to bring a championship team to this guy, and you bring a role player and then a not even close to fringe all-star, and you're like, "Yep, this is what we got out here in Portland." They couldn't have even gotten a who was a big name player who switched teams last year. Was there anyone? Oh, Ben Simmons. You couldn't have gotten a Ben Simmons to average 8 points a game, 7 rebounds, 2 assists.
Take no shots.
So to look at Dame while he shoots.
Ugh.
I think it's a good trade though. I definitely think for Portland, you get a first, you get Obi Toppin. I would probably give him a B plus A-. For New York, I think it's also a good trade. I think Julius Randle and Jeremy Grant, I don't know how that would work together. What would the starting lineup even look like at that point? It'd be Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle, Jeremy Grant, RJ Barrett, Jalen Brunson. Who's shooting threes in that lineup?
Well, Jeremy shoots threes. The first 3 shoot threes, but then you have 2 people that can't shoot. And I mean, Randall can kind of shoot, but
every few games.
every few games.
Every few games, Julius Randle can shoot a few threes, but in general, yeah. I don't know how much I like the fit in New York for Jeremy Grant, but I definitely would trade Jeremy Grant. I would trade Dame. The team sucks.
Personally, I would definitely. I would blow up Portland. I wouldn't blow them up. I'd blow the team.
You blow up Portland.
I would blow up Portland, right?
The city of Portland done.
This will never happen, obviously, but I don't think I'd do the deal either because because obviously Portland needs the wings. That's what they need, honest. Like
Mhm.
they need them. And Rose, you're gonna have Rose, Simons. I mean, obviously, you make the trade for blowing up everybody.
Yeah.
But if you're
This
doing
trade
if
is a
you're doing
good trade if you trade Dame after.
right,
But
it's a
if
good
they
trade if you
did
trade it
this
down for
move
sure.
and then they were just like, "Yep, this is the change we needed," I would be like, "This might be the worst like
Worst
front
trade ever.
office in the NBA."
Right, right. So you gotta trade everybody because having Rose, Simons, Dame, Shaden Sharp,
And for Gary Payton the second,
Gary Payton second, that's 5 guards who are like under 6'3". Or Shaden Sharp's taller, but you know,
like they're not gonna do anything at all.
no.
And
And
then
the
Obi
Knicks looking
Toppin-
kind of funky, bro.
the one person on the Blazers who I was like really looking at to trade was Yusuf Nurkic, but I really think his contract sucks. Like it's one of them. It's not one of the worst contracts in the league, but it's not a good contract
It's not
for
worth
someone who's always injured, who's not really the best rim protector or really scorer
Yeah.
to get paid the amount he does. I think is a pretty poor contract. The Blazers were definitely the most frustrating team out of maybe the Blazers and the Wizards for me because I don't know if you guys noticed this, but this feels like the trade deadline with the least all-star talent available in a
Mhm.
long time. I really can only name one bona fide all-star this season who realistically could get traded, who I do have a trade for later on.
Ooh.
But Dame, he should have been traded. Bradley Beal also should have been traded, and I can't make trades for either of those guys. For Portland, it's just the Blazers are never trading Dame unless he requests a trade. And for Bradley Beal, obviously, you could trade Bradley Beal, but he also has a no trade clause. Also, he's probably on the worst contract in the NBA, in my opinion.
Yeah, he gets paid way too much money.
Way too much for someone who just scores. Like, that's it. There's so
Right.
many guys who can score 20 points as a second option. And Bradley Beal is a second option. He's not a guy who's getting paid $50 million a year to lead your team to a championship.
Right.
So,
Like he's averaging so many points just because he's the only person on the team.
right.
But like the Wizards the Wizards organization, dude. I
The
can't.
Wizards have the worst front office in the NBA. The
They
Blazers
do.
might be second, but the Wizards are clearly first to me.
Yeah, Blazers. I mean, they're not making the right moves now. Like they were like
Respectable at one point.
they're
but
respectable when Dame were them in like the later playoff rounds. Like
Yeah.
or was it the first round? No, they got past the first round.
No, they got to the Western Conference Finals one time against Golden
That's right.
State. They got
Yeah.
to that.
Right. So it's kind of like
They've
I
had
think
some
they've
success.
had
The
some
Wizards
success.
have had no success. Also, I saw a stat earlier today on I think the NBA posted it. The Spurs or the Wizards haven't beat the Spurs in San Antonio since before all of us were born.
That's
It wasn't even in
crazy.
the 2000s. It was in the 90s, I think. It was like 1988. That's the last time they beat the Spurs in San Antonio. And the Spurs haven't been good the last few years. You're telling me you can win one game in San Antonio?
Bradley Beal couldn't win them in one game.
Like Gilbert
He's
Arenas,
probably injured.
no one? Like
Yo, what?
John Wall, y'all couldn't win one game in San Antonio? That's crazy to me. They've had no success at all.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like DC, man. Their jerseys are
Ugly as well.
They're so ugly.
There's nothing good coming out of Washington
No.
right now.
Don't go to DC, guys.
Don't go to DC for anything.
Oh, that's where
You have those
KD
flower jerseys
lives.
though that are really cool. The pink ones are kind of decent.
They have pink jerseys.
Yeah. It's the ones that Kuz always goes crazy in, but
Oh, I never watched the Wizards in my whole life, so
I don't think
I wouldn't know.
I haven't watched the Wizards game in like 2 years. Like I'm not gonna lie.
I've never watched one. They're never on national TV,
Yeah, I don't want to watch the Wizards. I'm good.
and they're not in the playoffs either. So it's like
Yeah, it's not a
you
team.
never gonna watch them.
I'm never gonna watch a Wizards game. Until
Casual
Brad
fans will
Stevens
watch.
won. Wizards fans probably don't even want to watch the Wizards, to be honest. Like, I have another trade. This is probably my next smallest one, but now we're moving into the tier where it's kind of like this would make pretty big news if this happened. I have the Jazz again. Obviously, they're one of the big sellers this trade deadline, and I have them making a deal with the Clippers. Think two things the Clippers need. They still seem to need guard play, even though they got John Wall. It just hasn't really pushed the needle for them. And they also have clearly stated they're looking for a small ball 5 who they can play on the court against. I don't know. I think they said it was against like Jokic. Like they wanted a small ball center they could play against Jokic. I don't know.
They already have one. They got Marcus Morris Sr.
Yeah, no, he's not a center. He is a glorified small forward.
Glorify, he a power. Yeah, you're right.
He's like a small forward for being real.
He's slow though. He's slow as hell.
So I have them making a trade. They are trading Reggie Jackson, who's on an expiring deal. They're trading Nicholas Batum, Terrence Mann, who I was kind of like, dang, I really don't want to trade him, but you kind of have to for the sake of the team, and Brandon Boston Jr., who I've never seen play a game of basketball in my life. They're also trading a second-round pick from this year, a second-round pick for next year, and then a first-round pick in 2027, which is like their next first-round pick that they even have. In return, they're getting Mike Conley, and they're getting Jared Vanderbilt, who is one of the players who I had traded multiple times. You get a guard who obviously can play make. We know Mike Conley is good enough to, be not really a first or second option on a championship team, really not even the third option on a championship team, like a fourth, fifth option, just a solid starting point guard. You get him who's on a 2-year, $22 million deal, not a great contract, but for the Clippers, the pressure's kind of on. Like, y'all have been less successful than the Lakers have, and since doing the big free agency where everyone moved teams. And they haven't really been getting as much flack as the Lakers have because they've been consistently in the playoffs. But there's pressure to win a championship because you traded all of your draft assets in the near future to win with Kawhi and Paul George. So I think this is a move they make to kind of solidify themselves as playing for now. Like, we're playing to win a championship this year or next year. Because the thing is with this deal, both of these players are under contract for 2 seasons. They'll have them for this year and next year. So if after that point, I mean, you don't really lose anything from this deal. You lose your second-round pick for this year and next year. And then the only thing past the next 2 years that you lose is Terrence Mann and a first. So, I mean, Terrence Mann in a first in the next 2 years or 2 seasons with Mike Conley and Jared Vanderbilt, I think I'm taking those two.
It's a good trade. I think it's very, very detailed. A lot of players. At first I thought it was like too many players, but I'm like, I think it works out for both teams for sure. Mike Conley's definitely a person that doesn't need to have the ball all the time. Like, he's not the main scorer. Right, he can shoot the 3 too. So like, I think he's a good point guard for many teams. Like, a lot of teams could probably use him as well. So how many? Let's see. The deals for like Reggie Jackson,
Nicholas Batum, Terrence Mann, Brandon Boston.
Are they how are they multi-year deals?
Reggie Jackson is expiring. Nicholas Batum is 2-year. Terrence Mann is 3-year. Brandon Boston is 3-year. But I think Terrence Mann and Brandon Boston are both still on rookie deals. So
right. What's Nick Batum's money though?
He's getting paid $10.8 million this year. So,
and he has 2 years.
Yeah, I don't know what it is next year, but he has 2 years. Yes.
And Jackson's expiring though, for sure.
Yeah, 1 year, $11 million.
Okay, all right. That's not too bad, honestly. I think yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Frank.
No, I was just gonna say that it just works out. They get this. I think they move the older type players, get some more younger players, less salary, draft pick. It'll all work out. I think it's a good trade.
It fits both timelines, and the Jazz wanting to prepare for the future, get assets, younger talent, Terrence Mann. And did they get a pick out of it?
Yeah.
They got a first, but it's in 2027, and they also got 2 seconds in the next 2 years. So
yeah. So again, prepping for the future, flushing out the vet in Mike Conley, and then although they're giving up Jared Vanderbilt, they're still getting assets out of it. So I think.
Okay, cool. I'm glad we all liked my trade. That makes sense. I could be an NBA GM one day. Who knows?
You should be
from each team's perspective. For LA, what are you giving it?
I'll give LA an A. Just because, I mean, you're not giving up that much, and you get Conley and Vanderbilt, who's a good role player. I think that's pretty good. And because you have to win now. There's so much pressure, like you were saying, on the Clippers organization right now.
Right.
Like it's crazy. Like what are Paul George and Kawhi's deals right now? Isn't one of them expiring this year?
I don't believe so, but Kawhi and Paul George are both very highly paid. Like, I think they're both in the top 10 highest paid players in the league. And the Clippers are in a good spot. I will say the Clippers are the 4 seed in the West. It doesn't feel like it because for a good portion of the year, they were like not even in the playoffs. They were in the play-in, I think, at one point. But they've been hot as of recently. They're on in their last 10 games are 7-3. So maybe you'd have the mentality like if it's not broke, don't fix it. Because obviously in the beginning of the year, everyone was like the Clippers have one of the deepest rosters in the league and they're a true contender. I still feel that way. But I think this is a good move to make because I think it solidifies you as comfortably probably one of the 3 best teams in the West. I think you jump the Kings if you make this trade to me.
Oh, they're way better than the Kings, right?
No, they're behind the Kings.
Yeah, but the Kings are they real?
Oh, like better roster wise, I think, but I mean like record wise, I think they jumped the Kings here at least.
Oh yeah,
Record-wise,
okay.
Well, the Clippers are 1.5 games back from the Kings, and the Clippers played more games. They played 5 more games than the
But I think comfortably you'll consistently stay above the Kings at this point. Like,
Yeah, I think so. That's gonna be weird. The Kings in the playoffs.
like
I mean, the
like,
Kings-
not just in the playoffs, like they're a top 3 seed. Like they're gonna have home court advantage. So
that's weird. They're gonna lose.
they just need to win one playoff game, and I think that's a successful season for Kings.
They're gonna lose to the LA Lakers.
LeBron's gonna average 60 for the rest of the year, and they're gonna somehow sneak in.
Yeah, they should have. Yeah, go ahead. But yeah,
Utah, what are you giving it?
Hey,
I am like a B. You don't know what Terrence Mann's gonna be in the picks. I mean, you're just getting out the vets. Really, man, that's what you want to do. There's nothing like guaranteed.
Mhm.
Except like
Get the
role,
pick.
and except like a pick and a role player, but that pick's not really like a guaranteed good role player. Like you never know. Is what I'm saying.
You still
I
got to
mean,
hit on.
Right?
getting
So it's a
they're
hit,
flushing
yeah.
out that for the value or for some value.
Right. They're getting something out of it. So it's a good move. But yeah. So I'll just give it like a B. That's fine.
It's better letting the vet walk.
Yeah, it's way better. 100%. Okay.
Who wants to go next? Because I still have like
I got-
I still have like 3 or 4 more trades.
Bro, you
left.
might have to cut one out, bro.
Yeah.
These are great trades, bro. I'm sorry. There is one that's kind of expendable, but
How many do you have left?
I have like 4. I can go back to back though.
Go back.
Frank.
I have 2.
You have 2 more?
I have 2 more.
What do you have, Ethan?
2.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna go back to back. Let's see. I'm between this 3-team trade and this. Oh, all of these trades are kind of in the same tier. I think I'm gonna do this 3-team trade because it's the smallest names.
Oh.
3 teams. So lock in.
I'm gonna get a piece of paper real quick.
Go ahead. We
No, I'm
have
playing.
the Suns, the Cavs, and the Jazz. Another Jazz trade. They just have so many assets. So how am I going to say this? Okay, so the Suns get one thing. The Suns get Karis LeVert. They just need guards who can really play at all. And he's an expiring deal. He's expensive at the moment, but if it doesn't work out, you just don't bring him back. They are giving up to get Karis LeVert, Jay Crowder. They are also giving up Torrey Craig and a second and a first. So they're giving up quite a bit of things to get only Karis LeVert. They are trading Jay Crowder to Cleveland. They need a wing who can kind of do anything because Isaac Okoro is the starting 3 for them. Obviously, I would have did this deal with just Phoenix and Cleveland, but there was no way for them to pull off this deal realistically with just those 2 teams. So the Jazz had to be involved. The Jazz want a young player. Guess who they get? They get Isaac Okoro. Jay Crowder is going to just take Isaac Okoro's minutes anyway. Seti Osman is the backup wing off the bench. And then they also get Torrey Craig, expiring deal, doesn't really do anything for them. And they are getting a second, 2 seconds, one from Cleveland, one from Phoenix, and a first from Phoenix. And they are also trading away Kelly Olynyk. Like, all they're trading is Kelly Olynyk to Cleveland. That's all they're doing. And they're getting pretty big haul back.
What are the Jazz trading again?
They're trading Kelly Olynyk. Like, that's it.
That's it. And what are the Jazz receiving?
Isaac Okoro, Torrey Craig, 2nd-round pick, 1st-round pick, 2nd-round pick.
No,
No, hear me out.
No.
They have to get some compensation for being, because obviously if you're the Jazz and 2 teams want to make a trade and you don't benefit from the trade at all, you got to get some compensation back, right? Because if they're not going to give you anything, why are you going to go help out the Suns and the Cavaliers, right? There's no reason to. So you get a 2nd-round pick from the Suns this year that's not going to be that great. It's going to be a late second if we're being real. And a second from Cleveland that's also not going to be that great. It's going to be a late second. Torrey Craig's expiring. You get a first. That first is in 2026. So maybe the first is what's pushing it. But then again, the Suns are getting Karis LeVert, who I think maybe he's worth a couple seconds. I threw in a first just because it's like the Suns are kind of desperate to get something done. And they get Isaac Okoro, who really wouldn't play for Cleveland at this point. I mean, again, they are only trading Kelly Olynyk, which kind of like when you think, oh, the Jazz just traded Kelly Olynyk and they got all these things back. But when you really look at the things I gave them, I don't think any of them are really that spectacular, other than the first and Isaac Okoro, which is like a young player and a first round pick.
It just sounds like a lot, but the value isn't a lot. Like, does that make sense?
I get what you mean. Maybe I might take out the first and just do, if it was Isaac Okoro, Torrey Craig in 2 seconds, one from Cleveland, one from Phoenix. Scratch the first from Phoenix. Is this a fair trade? I mean, still a lot for Kelly Olynyk, but
I mean, for the compensation, yeah, I guess.
I think.
I might have missed. Oh no.
First of all, yeah, take out the first for sure. You don't need it at all. But I still think Isaac Okoro is way too much for Kelly Olynyk. Plus the 2 seconds. I think you have to figure out a way for the Jazz to either give up a second, or just I don't. Isaac Okoro is more valuable than Kelly Olynyk. And 2 second and 2 second round picks.
Here's what you got to think about from each team. Isaac Okoro is more valuable than Kelly Olynyk, but is Isaac Okoro more valuable than Kelly Olynyk and Jay Crowder together?
Are you saying a guy 6 points, 2.5 rebounds, and 1 assist is high value?
Okoro?
Yes.
I mean, for a contending team, he's not high value.
He's not, but
and so to Cleveland, he's pretty low value. He's expendable. For Utah, he's high value. For Utah, and then for Cleveland, Jay Crowder and Kelly Olynyk, who are solidified, role players.
He fits the timelines too on the Jazz, so it's fine.
How old
is
bro?
Okoro?
Yeah. 22.
His rookie deal, but he's like later in his rookie deal. I think he got drafted in like 2019.
2020.
Huh?
He got drafted in 2020. He's 22 years old.
He's still really young, but then again, the Jazz need young players.
Okay. All right, that's fine. I think just take out the first. I think it's a good deal.
So for each team,
because Cavs on the end.
For Utah, what are you giving them? They're trading Kelly Olynyk for 2 seconds, Isaac Okoro, Torrey Craig.
A.
Yeah, A.
And then what are you giving Cleveland? They're trading away Karis LeVert, Isaac Okoro, and a second for Kelly Olynyk and Jay Crowder.
Maybe like a C. LeVert's good, man.
He's expiring though, and they got to pay so many guys. That's why
he's good. But what about Crowder?
Crowder is also expiring, but it's like, who are you paying more, Karis LeVert or Jay Crowder next year? I'm paying Karis LeVert a little more.
That's true.
I mean, well, Jay Crowder. This is hypothetical if Jay Crowder would play, right?
Yeah. Well, the only reason Jay Crowder isn't playing now is because he doesn't want to play for Phoenix.
Yeah.
He's not injured or anything.
Because
For Phoenix, the new updated trade is Karis LeVert for Jay Crowder, Torrey Craig, and a second round pick.
I like Phoenix. I think Phoenix is getting an equal trade. I think you take out the first, like you were saying, the Jazz get a decent deal, and the Cavs, I guess, since they're swapping some money out, you get Jay Crowder, who's just a better like championship player, even though he's never won a championship. I mean, he probably has.
Teams he's been on.
He probably did.
He's been on with Boston.
Did he win with Boston or no?
No, he never won a championship. I'm telling you. He was with Memphis. He was with Boston, Phoenix. He's been to the finals a few times.
Yeah, and he doesn't win. But he's still like a good playoff guy. I mean, he can shoot and he can play some D.
I wasn't rocking with Kelly Olynyk for 2 seconds of first, Isaac Okoro and Torrey Craig. Now that I think about it, I don't know what prompted me to put the first in there. I wish I could go back in time when I was making the trade and realize or think about why I did it. I don't know though. I think the 2 seconds is fair though. The first is kind of pushing it. You're getting a first for.
I mean,
first for Kelly Olynyk is wild enough just by itself.
Like just by itself.
And we're gonna give you our first round draft pick, another first round draft pick, 2 seconds,
Isaac
Kelly
Okoro.
Olynyk.
All we want, Kelly Olynyk.
All right.
Who wants to go next? Because I went back to back. You guys are cool.
Oh, you wanna
Okay.
go?
I guess I'll go. Let me
All
figure out which one's more important. So I did the Memphis one. Um, mm, this one's gonna be bad. I didn't know what to do. Okay, I'm gonna go with this one. So Atlanta trades John Collins.
Oh, finally. I couldn't think of a John Collins trade, so please enlighten me.
They're trading him. First of all, Atlanta doesn't even want him. They don't want him. They've dropped his trade value like 3 days in a row.
Did you hear that they told him like to find his own deal?
What?
they couldn't find a trade for him. They were like, so you and your agent need to go find a trade for yourself. We can't
That's
do it.
crazy. So you trade him. You gotta make the money matchup. It's hard to make the money matchup for someone like him, right? So you trade him to the Heat.
Uh-oh.
The Heat want him. First of all, the Heat are targeting him. So you trade someone you don't need, Duncan Robinson,
Oh.
and then you trade Caleb Martin, who's a good role player.
Mhm.
I know Duncan has to make the money work. I know he hasn't been good like that first year, that second year, whatever. But he was really good there. But
Mhm.
and then you give like a protected first or just any for
That's a terrible trade.
any first round pick. Heat want him, Hawks don't. Hawks don't save any money, but they get a couple good role players, and they don't want Collins anyway.
I think I'll say
And you get the
this.
first round pick, which is it's not like valuable, but at least you're getting something.
If I'm Miami, I'm giving this a B plus, and I'm also giving it a B plus for Atlanta as well. Reason being for Miami, I think you get a good player. And the biggest win for me in this trade isn't even getting John Collins; it's getting off of Duncan Robinson. I think that's the W right there.
That is a dub.
I'm a little skeptical of the fit of Bam, John Collins, Jimmy Butler, because none of them are really good 3-point shooters at all. Actually, Jimmy Butler is a very bad 3-point shooter, as was discussed on a prior podcast.
Right, he was terrible. He's terrible.
He was shooting two threes a game, and he was shooting like 25% on 2 threes a game. Like, not a good 3-point shooter. I think I would actually give Atlanta an A here, A minus, just because of the fact they've gotten so much worse at generating open 3-point shots after trading Kevin Huerter to Sacramento.
Yeah.
Obviously, Duncan Robinson can shoot the ball. Like that.
Right.
That's what he does. So you kind of get that back, and you also get Caleb Martin, right?
That's right.
So you get two role players. The biggest issue I had with Atlanta in the beginning, when I don't know if you guys remember when we were doing our standings predictions, and the reason I had them where they are at this moment, I believe, is because they had no bench. Their bench sucks. They lost all of their good bench players, but they brought in DeJounte Murray, so they got a bit of credit. But I think they need a bench, obviously. Duncan Robinson can't defend for his life, so I don't know how you run a lineup with Trey. I don't think you can really ever have Trae Young and Duncan Robinson on the court at the same time.
You can't have him with him, no.
But DeJounte and Duncan Robinson, that will work fine. So I like it. I think I'm giving Atlanta A minus, Miami B plus.
Okay.
I'm giving Atlanta an A because it opens up their lineup opportunity, I guess. So they open up more scoring, whether DeJounte's on the court or Trae Young's on the court, with working with Duncan Robinson.
Duncan.
And I don't know how the lineup's going to work for Miami. I mean, realistically, they play John Collins off the bench and just
They could.
Yeah.
Who starts
And
though?
then-
Because wasn't Caleb Martin the starting power forward?
Jimmy Butler can start at the 4.
And then who's the 3? Because they don't seem to ever put Tyler Hero in the starting lineup. So it like
I don't know. They have weird lineups, but
they'll figure something out. They'll find some random undrafted free agent or G League.
John Collins fitting in before with Bam and Jimmy not being able to shoot the 3 ball in the first place. It doesn't fit at all.
Mm.
I thought it was weird fitting, but it like reports say that the Heat were targeting John Collins, so I was just like,
what's their general manager's name? I can't think. Pat Riley.
Pat Riley.
Okay, Pat.
There was when I was looking at different people I can give away, like I thought Caleb Martin was you could have put Max Strus in there, But
Mhm.
like I didn't want to do that just because Miami wouldn't give up 2 sharpshooters.
Right. They need to have
They
something.
need Struce. Like he was, I think,
Bro, if they would have traded Struce,
Bruce.
if they would have traded Struce, their spacing would have looked like a 60s Celtics team. Like they would have had no space on the
I know.
floor.
I was like, oh, this is bad. Like imagine having Kyle
John
Lowry.
Collins gonna literally do a dribble handoff to Jimmy Butler in the paint. Like we have zero separation on the floor.
Yeah.
I like it though. For John Collins, I think it's a decent deal. It's a fair deal. As far as return on investment, it's just not really a great fit as far as Miami goes.
Okay.
Miami missed their opportunity to get a power forward in the free agency. So the only thing I that kind of made me a little like hesitant on the Hawks side is you're trading away a lottery pick in John Collins. I think he was a lottery pick.
Mm.
Duncan Robinson and Caleb Martin a few years later, which kind of sucks. But obviously, not every pick is going to work out. So I think it's good. It helps them this year. I would say they win the trade slightly. So
Okay. But yeah.
Like not a fringe all-star, but a very solid third option, and you're still the winner of the trade. I think you did a good job.
I mean, I'd say they win it like not just slightly, but probably more than slightly compared to like how the Heat's going to manage their lineup long-term playoff, because like the three ball is going to become important overall later on.
The fit is awful. I'm not gonna lie to you. The fit is terrible. But then again, if Miami said they want him, then I can't fault Frank for being like, okay, this is what the trade will look like. But it's a terrible fit. I don't know what they want John Collins for. So
Yeah.
The scheme fit, that thing would be on 0.
right.
Scheme fit would be on 0. 1 star. But Collins is on a 4-year deal.
Yeah.
4 years. That's a long time. Like I think Hawks definitely can like win that just because you're getting a 4-year deal off. That's pretty good.
But you are getting Duncan Robinson, who I think is on like a 4-year as well. So it's kind of like you're trading.
It's less than 4 years, but it's still like the same. It's the same amount of money, but it's like
less years.
Less years, right?
Yeah.
Same amount of money per year, but less years. So
Okay.
Ethan, you got 2 left, right? You want to go ahead?
Okay. So mine involves John Collins as well. It's between the Jazz and the Hawks. Jordan Clarkson, Kelly Olynyk, and the Minnesota first going to Atlanta for John Collins.
I don't think that's enough in return for Kelly Olynyk, in my opinion. I think there needs to be some sort of 3 first-round picks, 4 first-round picks for Kelly Olynyk. I mean, we all know Kelly Olynyk is an all-star level player. This is a guy who can, if he really feels like it, he's an MVP quality player. But, I think we need
2K legend.
2K legend. Kelly Olynyk, come on now. For John Collins, I think we need a little bit more. But I think it's you said Utah?
Yeah.
Okay. Say it one more time.
Jordan Clarkson, Kelly Olynyk, Minnesota first for John Collins, and then I'll throw in this year's first.
Hawks first?
Yeah, Hawks first.
Oh, Hawks first. I'm gonna give it A plus, or not A plus, A to Atlanta, a C minus to Utah. Just because Minnesota's already bad, so I don't want to trade that pick personally. And then you're trading Jordan Clarkson, you're trading Kelly Olynyk, and there was one other person?
No.
Just those 2. I think you're trading those 2 assets and you're getting a first in return. The 2 things I dislike most is, again, I'm not trading that Timberwolves first. And I don't know. I think that move kind of makes the Jazz not better, but it kind of leaves them at the same spot, because I feel like now with John Collins and Lauri Markkanen, they'll be able to win a lot of games that they probably don't want to win. Also, I don't like the fit with Lauri Markkanen and John Collins either. I don't like the fit with John Collins in a lot of places. But yeah, I don't know. I think I see the Jazz going in a different direction than trading for John Collins, especially if it involves trading that first.
They can give up their first instead of Minnesota's.
But I don't want to give up their first either, because I think they should be trying to be bad. That's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, with that, with them acquiring John Collins, though, getting rid
It
of
wouldn't be bad.
It would also benefit them because they lose that scoring off the bench. but it also sets them up for the future, depending on whoever they get with that draft pick.
He posted it and then she commented.
I mean, I see it. If the Jazz were like, we're gonna trade this guy and we're gonna just be bad, we're gonna build a poorly constructed roster, even if it has good players. I think that's what that move is. Again, they just don't really have a first to trade for John Collins. Not their own or the Minnesota one, at least not this year. Maybe a future Minnesota one, but even then, I don't want to trade any of those picks.
They can
Yeah.
give up a few Cleveland first in 27.
Yeah, maybe something like that, but not the Minnesota pick or their own. That's where I sit on it.
Personally,
Oh, go ahead.
wait,
I forgot you had some analysis to say. My bad.
personally, I think Jordan Clarkson is valuable enough to just be traded with what was it, Kelly Olynyk and Jordan Clarkson for
Mhm.
Collins. I don't think you need to add the first, honestly. Jordan, you said the Hawks. You were saying earlier the Hawks need guard play just because Herter left, right?
Mhm.
Like Hawks definitely want this for sure.
Right.
And if it was a first round pick, that'd be even better. So I don't think you need a pick at all. Maybe a second, but like I still don't. I think Atlanta would still do that trade without the pick. Is what I'm saying.
Right.
So I don't think the Jazz need to give it up, and they can get Collins. I don't know if Collins is the right direction they'd want to go in. But you know, they played Laurie at the 3 before. It's not that crazy, you know. But I'm not sure if they want to do it. But I think it would still work if they made that trade. Like Collins would still fit there, like in some sort of way. So you know, give like a 8 of the Hawks without the pick even. The Jazz, I mean, you're selling, so you're kind of getting something back. So I'm not really sure of like what their direction would be. But I'd probably give them like a C or maybe like a C.
Mhm.
I'm not sure. It's kind of hard to tell for the Jazz because I'm not sure what the direction would be. You know,
Frankie, you have one more, right? After this one?
I have one more. Ethan has one more, and then you have
I have 3 more. So I'm going to go quick. I'm going to go
Go-
back to back and just
go back to back again. Then we do it. Yeah.
Okay. So, which one do I want to do first? I have one with. Do you guys want to hear the one with the Warriors or the one with the Raptors?
The
Warriors.
Raptors.
Raptors.
Warriors.
Warriors?
No, Raptors though.
Raptors. So I have another deal with the Thunder. A little bit of bias, just a slight, small amount of bias. Again, I'm in the group that says Oklahoma City should try and,
Push.
push for the playoffs. And there is a player in Toronto who's unhappy, has been in trade talks all year. And clearly Toronto has a pretty high asking price for this player, even if I don't feel that they deserve it. OG Anunoby to Oklahoma City for Lou Dort and 2 first-round picks and a second. Those first-round picks being 2025 via Miami and 2024 via the Clippers.
How much does Lou Dort make?
Lou Dort makes $15 million a year. OG makes $17 million a year. Lou Dort is on a 5-year deal though, and OG's on a 3-year.
Okay, I would say all of that is pretty decent. I mean they're asking for a lot of picks, the Raptors for OG, which is kind of crazy. I've been seeing it. They're like they want 3 first-round picks. I'm like,
The Knicks
like-
offered them 3, and they're like, nah.
yeah, what kind of weird? just some weird stuff. Like, is he that valuable? Like, I don't know, but I think everything this trade works out. But I'm just not sure about the Lou Dort for 5 years.
That's the thing that I think
That's too much, in my
I'll
opinion.
justify. This is my idea. So obviously, Toronto is currently the 12th seed in the East, right?
Mhm.
They're probably more in the favor of like tanking and just being bad this year because they're not really a playoff team. Even if they kept OG, I don't think they're better than most of the teams in the playoffs. So let's trade OG. You get a couple firsts, a second. You get Lou Dort, who's a quality role player.
He is for sure.
Under contract, and you have him for 5 years. But I mean, then again, it's kind of a blessing and a curse because you can't really get rid of him anytime soon. Maybe not for the next 2 years. I think once contracts get to about 3 years, it's a little easier to kind of make things work. But for this year and next year, you probably have to keep him. But I mean, he's a solid role player. I don't think the Raptors are in a position to fully like rebuild, even though I have a trade of them doing that. I don't think that's the direction they're going to go. I think if they get Lou Dort, they kind of they retool in a way. They get a player who's probably not going to lead them to as many wins. Lu Dort's obviously not someone who can really like win you a game as a second option.
Yeah.
He's just a solid player who's nice to have on a team you're building, but he also has less of a ceiling than OG, which kind of benefits them now.
Okay. I think I changed my mind. No, you convinced me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Him being there for a while, like maybe, can step up his game a bit, be like make himself known as a good role player. So then maybe when later if they do want to trade him, people are like, oh, like we can use this guy on our team.
Right.
And maybe they'll trade from like near the deadline maybe in a few years, like someone that can shoot, play defense, that type of thing.
I mean, if they did this trade, I would probably be a little surprised if they kept him the whole 5.
Right, 5 years is a long time.
Unless he really like stepped up his game. In 5 years, we're probably going to be graduating from college. If Lu Dort was still on the Toronto Raptors, I would be shocked.
I would be too.
But again, I think the Raptors would benefit a lot from just moving on. We know this Raptors team, they're at best like an 8 seed to me, and even now they're playing lower than expectations. They're a 12 seed. So I think, let's make a move. Let's do something different. Let's go a different direction. You got Scotty Barnes still, who's low-key been a little underrated this year. I know he's been getting a lot of flack for kind of falling off as a sophomore, but when I was looking at Scotty Barnes coming out of his draft class, I saw a little bit more of like a Draymond Green-esque player. Like I didn't see him as someone like Jalen Green or Cade Cunningham, someone who's going to put up the most eye-popping stats.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Someone who when you watch him, I almost said Scottie Pippen. Scotty Barnes is a really good player, but sometimes the statistics make, certain NBA fans who don't watch a lot of games feel like he's fallen off. And he still does a lot of the same things he was doing last year. He's a very versatile guy. So you still have him to build around. You might have Pascal, depending on what you decide to do. If you decide to go full tank, then you can maybe get Victor. If you decide to retool, keep Pascal, but trade some of the other guys like Freddie, then you still got Pascal as well, who's also a very underrated player. So
yeah, I agree with that stuff. Yeah, I heard they might want to keep Pascal and trade everyone else, but even that's just a little weird to me.
Right, like just go all out or don't do it at all,
Yeah, and but yeah, you have to really watch like full basketball games to see like some players' impacts. Like certain players like to see like how they impact the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like you really have to watch them. So yeah, obviously how you're saying Scotty Barnes, you got like impacts the game.
For example, like Isaiah Joe on the Thunder, he's averaging like 5 points a game. He's one of the best 3-point shooters in the NBA, though. And if you watch the Thunder, you know that he's actually a really effective floor spacer and all of that. There's just certain players who don't really get this spotlight. Someone who was like a lottery pick last year, you would kind of expect people to pay a little bit more attention to him, especially last year when there were a lot of people who were like, Scotty got robbed for Rookie of the Year. And now it's
I saw that.
he fell off. But like he's still doing the same things he was doing last year. He didn't make a sophomore jump, but he also didn't take a sophomore slump. We'll say that.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah, just no one likes Canada. That's just
Toronto in general is very underrated a lot of the time, especially in more recent years. Once they traded like Kawhi and all of them, and they didn't have like a super big like
star, they dialed down a bit.
Yeah, they've been very underappreciated as one of the best front offices in the NBA. Honestly, they have a case, and I think one episode we should rank the NBA front offices. I think Toronto is comfortably like a top 10 front office in the league. Just their player development. They usually do decent on draft picks. They don't really make a lot of bad trades. So I think Toronto has been a very solid front office. A little uneventful, but also they haven't done anything that was harmful to their long-term future.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, I was going back to back. So I have one more trade before my big one. And then we'll go in a rotation because we all have one after I do this one. This one is between the Warriors and the Spurs. The Warriors are a team that never seems to make any sort of trades ever. So this would be kind of rare for them. 4 players and a pick for 2 players. So it's a pretty big deal.
It's a lot of players. I was about to like predict your trade, and then you said 4 players. Yeah.
So we have a first-round pick for this year for Golden State, unprotected. Obviously, if they're making this deal, they're looking to contend. So I would imagine this wouldn't be that great of a pick. But it's still a first for San Antonio, who's a rebuilding team. Obviously, they're moving towards the future. I think they're second worst in the West or worst in the West. 14-37. The Rockets are a little bit below them, but they're still one of the worst teams in the West. They are getting Ryan Rollins, who I don't know. He's just
I
on
know
the
idea who it
team.
is.
And he's on the Warriors. I by his picture, I think he's young. So maybe Ryan Rollins is a young prospect. He might be 30, and I just can't tell. They get Andre Iguodala, who
Oh,
it sucks they have to trade Iggy. It's like a legacy thing. Like, I don't think they would trade Iggy, but for money reasons, they would have to, unless they wanted to trade someone who actually plays in their rotation. So they trade Iggy, and then here are the two big name players. They trade Moses Moody and they trade James Wiseman to San Antonio. Moses Moody, out of the three young guys, Wiseman, Moses Moody, and Kuminga, I think he had the lowest potential to begin with, and he's really done the least like harmful, but he's also done the least like good. He's done nothing. Moses Moody has been very just like he's there. Like, he's not been Wiseman levels of disappointment, but he hasn't been Jonathan Kuminga levels of like, oh wow, this guy's actually pretty solid. Even though Jonathan Kuminga was a top 5 prospect coming into the draft, I was pretty low on Jonathan Kuminga. So for me personally, Moses Moody has kind of just met expectations. You send him to San Antonio with James Wiseman, two guys who can just kind of flourish in a poor, bad team, pretty much get a lot of minutes. Maybe the Spurs can develop James Wiseman into being a competent big man. Who knows? Maybe not. In return, the Warriors would get 2 solid players, both on expiring deals, which is the thing I love about this trade. They would get Josh Richardson, someone who can hit threes, play some defense, do all the little things, someone who could probably come off the bench, and they get Jakob Poeltl, someone who's also very solid. He's a bigger center, which is something they've needed for a bit. Obviously, they have Kevon Looney, who's a very good rebounder and interior defender, but he's also on the smaller side, so they do need someone who's legitimately a big player. So Jakob Poeltl, Josh Richardson for James Wiseman, Moses Moody, Andre Iguodala, Ryan Rollins, and a first.
I think that's good.
Hmm.
I mean, so I think Pop is still the coach of the Spurs, right?
Yeah, he's still there.
Okay, good. Well, I think that he could just flip around Wiseman and make him more of a defensive presence and develop him next to Sohan, and like, I don't know, just like get him under that scheme and just develop.
Do
You know?
something with them, because it's
Yeah.
not working on the state.
He's not really, well, he is developing on the Warriors, but like, you want that. It's about time, you know? I mean,
Yeah,
I
and
get
it's
it.
hard for him to develop on Golden State because Golden State is wanting to win now, and they don't
Yeah.
really have time to designate plays for James Wiseman and give him some time to mess up and then do what he needs to do. Just trade him to a team that can kind of give James Wiseman the ball because they have nothing to lose. I mean, if you look at San Antonio, if they were to pull off this trade, their young core would be like Trey Jones, or was Trey Jones the one that retired?
Trey Jones retired?
Someone on the Spurs retired because they weren't happy as an NBA player, or someone retired. I don't know who it was.
Oh, I thought it was Primo.
Primo got in trouble.
Oh, that's right.
They would have
did.
Josh Richardson. They'd have James Wiseman, Moses Moody, Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell. That's a pretty solid young core right there. They have Sohan, like you said, who's someone I thought was pretty solid coming out of the draft. Those are a good group of young dudes, and you're already bad. Trade what you have for some assets, and you get an extra first-round pick. As for the Warriors, the biggest issue for them as a team that's like a little bit below the contending, like, I've lost a little bit of confidence in Golden State just because their bench play has been really bad. The thing with them is they have such little cap space. They have the most in cap, like, they're the farthest under, right? And they need bench help. They need a lot of bench help, and a lot of the bench players who would benefit them the most are a little bit out of their price range and are on multiple year deals. Josh Richardson, $12 million this year, expires. Jakob Poeltl, $9 million this year, expires. So you lose both of the contracts after this year, and that gives you this year your best chance to win. Because Steph is getting older, Klay is getting older. This might be Draymond's last year on the Warriors. Like, let's win one more,
Yeah. I think it's a good trade for both sides. Wiseman, yeah, I think it's better that he gets some new scenery, like you guys are talking about. So I think it just works out. Both teams get what they want. They should trade Popovich, like they do in the NFL, and we could trade
Yeah,
coaches.
trade
I didn't know that was
Pop.
possible. I
had
just
no clue that was possible either.
You trade coaches. So
Oh.
maybe like trading for the copier machine was a real thing.
Yeah. Oh no, that was a real thing. They traded for for Kyle Korver, right?
That's crazy, dude. Are you sure that's
They
true?
traded for like a copying machine.
That's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, you can trade for some stuff that's not like players.
Yeah, it's crazy. But Jakob Poeltl is definitely what I've been like the noise has been about for Warriors trying to get someone on their team.
Mhm.
Yeah, isn't their bench like the starters are great, obviously. Like
Yeah, I think
the starting like the five, like the small ball five, like the
Mhm.
super lineup or whatever they call it.
Mhm. the death
But
lineup.
the death lineup, that's what it was.
Yeah.
But their bench is like, kind of lacking. So you got if you get Richardson, you have Looney, you still have Dante DiVincenzo, who's like one of the best pickups in free agency, in my
And you
opinion.
still keep Jonathan Kuminga,
And
who's
you have Kuminga there. That's
out
right.
of the youngest guys, he's probably been the most like he's contributed the most on a game to game basis. So
Yeah.
I mean, he makes some questionable plays.
yeah, but he's also I think he's the youngest out of all of them, either or two. He's one of the youngest.
He's young. He's youngest for sure. Yeah, he's youngest. He was a young guy.
He came into the league at 19. Like I think one of the only players older than him in the draft was Josh Giddey, who's one of the youngest players in the league. So I'll give him a little bit of a pass because for the most part he does contribute positively. But that would make your bench really solid to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have like a good 9-man, 10-man
I mean,
rotation probably.
I think it also gives them like options at the 5, like whether they want. What was his name?
Kevon Looney.
Yeah, Kevon Looney or Jakob Poeltl, depending on what they want in this situation.
Right.
Yeah, situational.
Yeah, you could if you're going against Denver, you play Jakob Poeltl most likely, right?
Yeah.
Or Kevon Looney. Both are a little bit more built than Draymond. If you're playing a team like the Clippers and they decide to go small, you probably play Draymond or Kevon. You play the Clippers and they go small and you think you can beat them down low, assuming they don't get a big to play small with. You put in Jakob Poeltl. It gives them much more versatility. And the thing, again, I'm going to say this one more time: the contracts expire, so it's like this year you do what you can do. Obviously, you miss out on a first that wasn't going to be good anyway, and I don't think Moses Moody has superstar potential. And James Wiseman, we'll see what he could possibly hypothetically do in San Antonio, but I don't really see the biggest like future for him either. I don't think they'd be trading a superstar or anything like that.
I think Moody will probably have a better future.
Right.
He becomes the best or the next Wembanyama out of nowhere.
James Wiseman turns into the next Tim Duncan.
They shouldn't have traded him. Warriors, worst trade of all time.
They got Josh Richardson and Jakob Poeltl. Who was this?
So that was back to back for you?
Yeah. So we all have one more. I think
Yes.
if we did this properly, this should be everyone's like biggest trade.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
who wants to go first? I know mine is really big, so I think I should go last, to be honest.
I'll go first. I mean,
Okay.
mine's not that big. It's basically another John Collins trade.
Oh,
So it's yeah, like my trades weren't really. I couldn't find one that matched.
These trades consisted of
money-wise.
trade something from the Knicks and get John Collins out of Atlanta. That was his trades, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, so it's between the Hornets and the Hawks.
Okay.
So Kelly Oubre, Cody Martin, James Bouknight, and a first via Denver. So like a late first, basically a second for John Collins. This puts the Hawks in that depth position where they get Kelly Oubre, they get Cody Martin, and then Bouknight.
That's what his brother's name is, Cody.
Cody and Keldon.
Been, like for months, I've been trying to
not
think
Keldon.
what Caleb Martin's brother's name is, and I really could not think of it. I had no clue.
But Cody Martin and James Bouknight, they have 4 years left on their deal, relatively cheap, $7 and $4 million. And then the first, it's not really going to matter. It's whatever. It's basically a second. And then Kelly Oubre gives them that spacing off the bench or starting, depends what you want to do. And yeah.
Whose first round pick is it?
Denver's.
Denver's. Oh, okay, so
basically
it's
second.
nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
I like the trade. I think I have one problem with it though. I don't want to trade James Bouknight. I think the trade is good. I don't know because I didn't look at that trade. I don't know if you had to trade James Bouknight for money reasons because he might have been the only contract that lined up.
Yes.
Okay, so
He was the only contract that lined up, huh?
I'm pretty
so
sure.
if you have to trade
Yeah.
James Bouknight and you get a first round pick for James Bouknight and you also get John Collins, it's an interesting trade because I think John Collins and LaMelo Ball would really be a cool pairing. It kind of be like a Miles Bridges replacement without
That's what I was thinking. The Lob
That's
City.
what I was intending. That's what I
without
was
the
intending.
off-court issues. It'd be John Collins and LaMelo Ball.
Yeah.
It's the only thing is, I mean, I don't think adding John Collins makes you really that much better. So I'm not thinking this trade moves them out of the tanking tier whatsoever.
No,
so I like it.
I mean, what I was intending was to keep them in that tanking tier to remain bad
But just get like
value for the future.
right. I like it. I think it's a good trade for Charlotte. I think Charlotte, I would probably give a B plus plus, like the highest thing you can get to A without being an A, just because if you're gonna go in that tanking tier, I kind of want to keep James Bouknight because he's young, obviously, and he was a draft pick this year. But if it's the only thing that lines up, is the only thing that lines up. And for Atlanta, I would probably give them a A as well. I mean, you're not trading your own first, so that's a positive. And you get, who was it? You get Kelly Oubre, who I think is a really nice little addition. And it was one other person.
Oh no,
Martin.
Cody Martin.
the Hawks are receiving Denver's first from Charlotte.
Oh, yeah, no, that I thought it was the other way around. It's still a good trade, but I think Atlanta would have to.
No picks. No picks.
Oh
If
yeah,
that's the case, then
that's
just take
fine.
off
That's
the
fine.
pick,
Yeah, I
and
get
then-
it. I get it.
Yeah,
You're getting
And
a
then
first round pick in return for a. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I think I'm gonna keep my grades where I have them.
Okay. You probably don't even need the picks because Atlanta would just say yes anyway if
Yeah.
Bouknight was involved because they don't want Collins anyway. He wants to leave. Like that's what they're reporting. So, but I think it's a good trade. The whole like LaMelo and Lobbin to Collins. If it becomes like a big thing, you can sell some tickets. Ooh,
People might go to the games.
people might go to the game. So obviously we don't know if. So I think obviously they're gonna be a more like fun team. And that's what Charlotte, I think, has been. Honestly, they're just a fun team because LaMelo makes it's just fun basketball. That's what it was a few years ago, at least. But like now, I don't know because people are like seeing Terry Rozier trades, and then you're trading Kelly Oubre. So obviously, be a fun team, but I'm not sure if Charlotte would want Collins like for their direction.
yeah.
But I think the Hawks, this is definitely a good trade for the Hawks. Hawks definitely do. Give them like an A.
I mean, for the Hornets though, they received something that's like a guaranteed player.
Four years of yeah.
Yeah,
I give him like a B or a C, something like that.
to fill that replacement of Miles Bridges.
Yeah, who hopefully John Collins won't, commit a crime. And
I mean,
that
John
would
Collins
be
a rapper?
ideal.
Hey, is John Collins a rapper?
No, so I think we're good. I think we're in the clear.
That's crazy. I saw this thing. It was like everybody on Michael Jordan's teams, like
They they do some dumb stuff.
they all go to jail.
Montrezl Harrell got in
Montrez.
trouble.
Someone else did. Someone like another guard on their team got in trouble.
I don't remember who it was, but I know who you're talking about.
He was like a second year, right?
He was a young dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Frank, give us your last one.
Frank, what's yours?
Okay, so this one is between the Timberwolves and Utah.
He's trading Gobert back.
Wait.
Gobert back to you.
Oh, that's right. They did trade. So we're gonna be sending Cat.
Oh no.
Oh, okay. All right. So Minnesota's gonna trade. So first of all, I think Minnesota has too many scorers. They got Cat when Cat comes back. You have him. You have Anthony Edwards. You
have D'Lo. Who?
You have D'Lo. We're trading D'Lo in this trade.
Okay, cool.
I think so. You're gonna trade D'Lo for Conley. That's like the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Conley's a better like third option while D'Lo wants the ball more. I think it'd just be a better fit for the Timberwolves, and you also get off a bigger contract in Russell, even though we're about to make it up. So we're gonna add Conley and Rudy Gay for Russell.
Conley and Rudy for Russell.
Utah will lose some salary cap, like a little bit, like minor, but a little bit. You don't need that. Like I was saying, you don't need another scorer. So you got Conley, Edwards, Gobert. Towns. I know like that Minnesota's in a tough position right now just because Towns is injured and they were playing decent, but now they're just like lowering in the standings.
Mhm.
So it's kind of unfortunate, but I think it's a better fit. Just
Conley and who else?
Conley and Rudy Gay. So you
Uh,
get a role player too who's averaging like 8 points,
And a solid starting point guard who kind of complements them a little better. And
a
then
little
get
better than Russell, and
Russell.
then D'Angelo Russell. Yeah. So and then
Just D'Angelo Russell.
um yeah,
I give it a okay.
and D'Lo has shoot. Does he have 1 year on his deal?
Yeah, he's expiring. So
He's expiring. So I think that's exactly what Utah wants. Like
good trade, except for the fact that Utah has Minnesota's picks, so they want Minnesota to be bad. So they wouldn't trade. They would make a trade that Minnesota would think would make them better. But I will say this: I just think it's a bad trade for Utah in general. I think they could get a little bit more from Mike Conley, specifically. Rudy Gay, you're not really getting anything for him. You're lucky to even be able to give him away. But I think you can comfortably get a first-round pick for Mike Conley, and Minnesota's not going to give you any first-round picks because you have their first-round picks.
so you want something with Russell.
Say that again?
You want to pick with Russell.
No, I don't think you want to trade him to the Timberwolves at all.
No, just
I
cut
think
ties with the Timberwolves because you don't want them to be good.
You want the Timberwolves to be bad. You have their first. You want them to be as bad as possible, and it's unprotected.
Maybe if you're the Jazz, you don't think they'll be good because Cat's injured.
You call up Mike Conley to the office, and you're like, "Hey, bro, I need you to play as bad as possible." Like Rudy Gay, I need you to start doing some stuff you've never done before.
Hey, y'all know that ad like, "Hey ref, I touched the ball."
Oh yeah, that's what you need Mike Conley to do. You need it to be like a close game between like the Pelicans and the play-in game, and Mike Conley tips it out of bounds, and he's like, "I touched it, ref. It was me."
That's crazy. No, but like realistically, the Jazz already have their own picks plus other picks that have potential. And if Cat's like, and if we see these injuries again, and maybe there's a lot of teams in the West. Like, is Minnesota really going to be up there?
They
No, but
probably
what if
won't.
Mike Conley suddenly elevates them?
They probably won't, but I also don't think Minnesota or Utah would take the chance at making them better at all. I still think the Timberwolves are pretty bad. Now that I like watched them on court, I was pretty high. I think all of us were decently high on the Timberwolves, and I think I'm very disappointed. I mean, obviously they've dealt with Cat being out for a really long time, but on the court it really doesn't look good. So
Okay.
I mean, we had logic behind thinking highly of them. It's just unfortunate.
yeah, I think for me, I'm giving Utah a C minus, and then for Minnesota, I'm probably giving them a B plus because you're getting a very good player for lower value than I think he's valued at.
So you think Mike Conley's valued higher, huh?
Yeah, because I think you can get a first round pick for Mike Conley and other stuff.
And D'Lo, or you just don't want to give D'Lo?
I mean,
do you think D'Lo should stay on the
yeah,
Timberwolves?
You could get a first round pick and D'Lo for Mike Conley. The thing is, you don't want to trade Mike Conley to the Timberwolves.
Okay, that's good logic. I understand.
It's just the team. It's not. I think the trade is fine if you added the first round pick. It's just you don't trade them to that team.
Okay.
For the Jazz, I'd give them like a C minus ish. C. I don't know. It's like D. Like it doesn't make sense for them to do that trade because they want the T-Wolves to be bad, and them giving away Mike Conley for just D'Lo and Rudy Gay and Mike Conley for just D'Lo.
Yeah, I understand. I totally forgot Gobert was like traded there when I was making the trade, honestly. So I didn't look at that.
I mean, if like in this world that the Jazz didn't have the Timberwolves picks and the Jazz were trying to tank, yeah, I would do that.
Yeah, no question. It's just
like it would be a higher grade than that for sure.
The
But
Timberwolves or the Jazz have the Timberwolves picks. So that's
in the situation we're in right now with the Jazz holding T-Wolves picks,
do it.
Yeah, imagine if the T-Wolves suck though.
And even with Mike Conley, they just get worse all of a sudden. That'd be the greatest trade of all time.
Cat's not even playing.
I don't know when he's coming
he's
back.
injured.
Yeah, and Gobert has proven that he can't play in the playoffs.
Yeah, so
and it hasn't even been a good fit apparently.
So
I've been eating those hot Cheeto fries.
21
Who?
bags a week.
Yeah.
Wait, who?
Those
Anthony
games-
Edwards. He eats
Anthony
21
Oh,
Edwards-
bags.
those the Chester's hot fries.
Yeah, the Chester
Yeah.
hot fries.
Oh, he's like my brother, man. I love those.
They're
But
good.
21
So
bags a
good.
week is insane.
Bro, it's not that much.
You said those are rookie numbers. Get your
Those are rookie numbers. He a sophomore. I'm a senior. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, Ethan, give us your last one so I can give you guys my trade.
I did.
Oh, you already did? Oh,
It
yours
was
was John Collins to Charlotte. Okay.
John Collins,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's yours.
Are you guys
Hey,
ready?
what overall is he in 2K?
Over 86.
Whoa, it's Jaylen Brown to the Warriors.
Jaylen Brown traded to the Los Angeles Lakers for Russell Westbrook and
Rui
Dennis-
Hachimura.
Rui-
Hey, I'll flip him again. Forget the rules. Flip him again.
Okay, before I say the teams, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of context. We have 12 players in this trade and 2 picks.
Bro.
So lock in.
Bro,
Again,
I'm not gonna keep up.
I'll
I
go
got it.
team by team, and I'll
Alright.
tell you what each team is trading away.
Oh wait,
Alright.
so it's 3 teams.
3 teams.
Oh,
Toronto,
okay. I thought it was 2 teams.
Toronto is in this trade. Dallas is in this trade, and Golden State is in this trade.
Okay.
Okay. Golden State. I'll start with what Golden State is trading away because they're trading away the most things. As far as players go, they're trading away the most things, I believe. No, actually, Dallas is. So Dallas is trading away Christian Wood, Josh Green, Dorian Finney-Smith, JaVale McGee, and 2 first-round picks. Wow, that's a pretty big haul. Christian Wood would be going to the Raptors. Josh Green would be going to the Raptors, and both of the first-round picks would be also going to the Raptors. Dorian Finney-Smith and JaVale McGee would be going to Golden State. Similarly to the San Antonio trade, it's 2 really solid bench players who
Yeah.
can produce for them for the next few years, right? Golden State is trading away Andre Iguodala, again, unfortunately. He just can't seem to stay on the team. Who Andre Iguodala would be going back to Dallas, and they would be trading 4 players to the Raptors. They trade James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, and Ryan Rollins. They'd be trading the whole young core. In return from Toronto, it sounds unbalanced when you talk about what Golden State is giving to Toronto versus what Toronto is giving to Golden State, but it's a 3-team trade, so it kind of it's even in the 3, but not from 1 to 1.
Gotcha.
They're only getting Otto Porter back from Toronto, but you got to take into account they're getting Dorian Finney-Smith and JaVale McGee and Otto Porter for those 3 players. I kind of like to think of it as you're getting Moses Moody's upgrade is going to be Otto Porter Jr. He's like Moses Moody but evolved. Jonathan Kuminga is Dorian Finney-Smith devolved, and then JaVale McGee is upgraded James Wiseman. You get like the veteran versions of the guys you already have. You also trade away Ryan Rollins and Andre Iguodala, who I don't think play. So now Toronto is trading away 3 players. They're trading away Otto Porter to Golden State, and they're trading away Thaddeus Young to Dallas and the big name player Pascal Siakam to the Dallas Mavericks.
Ooh.
I could run it down one more time and just go by what teams got.
You don't have to. I mean, I got it
I'm
all.
good.
So that's the trade, guys. The big trade.
I'll give it a B for the. I was gonna say Cowboys. I mean Mavericks. Simply because they're losing their bigs in JaVale McGee and Christian Wood. Like JaVale McGee shouldn't even be playing. Bro's a husk at this point, and he should be retired.
Husk.
Whoa, you're tired.
JaVale
Warriors
is
don't take
solid.
that trade anymore.
He's decent. Like, but yeah, I get what you mean. He's not someone I'm like, oh, I really wish I had JaVale McGee. Bro.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. They're giving up their big. Do they have a backup big behind?
They have Dwight
Anyone else?
Powell, and then
Dwight Powell.
And then if they wanted to go small ball, like even more
Kleba.
small ball than Pascal, they go Kleba. Yeah.
Okay. I
So
mean,
they still have
I guess
options.
it's B plus, I guess, for the Mavericks.
Mhm.
For the Warriors, they receive Otto Porter.
Dorian Finney-Smith, Otto Porter Jr., and JaVale McGee. And they trade away Wiseman, Kuminga, Moody, Ryan Rollins, Andre Iguodala. So 3 like actual rotation players for 3, in my opinion, better rotation players. And then you trade 2 like people who don't play just because the money has to match up.
Like an B plus, A minus ish,
Mhm.
because they get the upgrades. And then for the Raptors, they received 2 first picks, Christian Wood and
The Warriors' whole young core and Josh Green and
an
Ryan
A.
Love.
That's easily an A, I believe. Yeah. So like A for the Raptors, A minus for the Warriors, and a B plus for the Mavericks.
Okay.
Frank, for you.
Can you tell me again what the Mavericks are giving up?
The Mavericks are giving up Christian Wood, who is on an expiring deal, mind you. He's literally on a 1-year deal, so not a lot really. They're giving up Christian Wood, Josh Green, Dorian Finney-Smith, JaVale McGee, a 2025 pick and a 2026 pick because you can't trade their 2023 and 2024 ones. So that's what they're giving up.
And they're getting Spicy P and who else?
Spicy P, Thaddeus Young, and Iggy. So again, even if you had concerns about them not having a big, Thaddeus Young is pretty tall. So
Well, Spicy P's a big. So you got Spicy P. So that's a lot of bigs. And then, you're only giving up Dorian Finney-Smith. I love Dorian Finney-Smith, but for Spicy P, you give him up for sure.
right.
JaVale, he doesn't play obviously, and then last player again, Josh Green.
Yeah.
Josh Green. They don't want to trade Josh Green.
Yeah, they don't.
But they could.
For Pascal, I think
you go for it. Something Mavericks. Obviously, you lose like the role players.
some of them because you still have a lot of them.
You still have a lot. Like a B. Raptors, they got so much in that trade. I give them.
They got a hole.
That's an A. They have too many players on the roster. What are they gonna do?
They would cut someone. But again, if they made this trade, Fred VanVleet would get traded, Gary Trent would get traded, OG Anunoby would get traded. There'd be no reason for them to like go into this like rebuild type trade and then not trade the other guys,
So they probably get more picks for the other guys too.
Yeah.
And
they would cut some people probably.
Yeah, and then the Warriors, I'm probably give them like a B. I mean, obviously you're replacing just like more veteran type guys, which is exactly what you need to like try to win the championship.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's shown that when Iggy is not on the team, they don't win.
Oh, so
right? Didn't Iggy win like every single one that he was every single championship?
Every single year he was with the Warriors?
Did he?
I think so, except for the year where they were in the finals, but everyone got hurt. But that's kind
of
they
lost.
Yeah, they lost. But every other year he was on the Warriors. And he was on the 2016 team where they
so 16, 17, 18, the previous one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 4. He was on all of them.
Yeah, pretty much.
He doesn't play, but it's like he came back for the one win, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd probably give the Warriors like a B. I think Raptors win out of everybody, but I think it's pretty good deals for everybody.
I think. Okay, so hear me out. Let me justify and try and talk the Mavericks up to an A. Okay, even though you said it was a B, so it wasn't a bad trade, right?
No.
If the Mavericks trade the guys who I have them trading, right? I know you guys talked about you lose some of the bench players. You still have Luka, obviously, who's the starter, starting point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and I guess coach. He's the mascot. He's the logo. He's the GM, the owner of the Suns and the Mavericks. He does a lot of stuff on the court. You have Tim Hardaway Jr. still, who's averaging 14 points a game. You still have Spencer Dinwiddie, so you still have guard play. That's 3 guards who I feel like all could start on certain teams.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously Luka could start on every team, but Tim Hardaway and Spencer Dinwiddie could start on certain teams. You keep Davis Bertans, who's a solid role player, but he's on a terrible contract. I couldn't work it into the deal. You still have Dwight Powell. You still have Reggie Bullock, who's still a very good 3-point shooter. Maxi Kleba, Frank Ntilikina, who doesn't do a lot offensively, but defensively, he's a pretty solid defender. Jaden Hardy probably should have been put in this deal just because he's a young player who's not going to get play time for this team, but I didn't work him into. But he's not going to play for the Mavericks. But you still have Jaden Hardy if you still need a guard. You have a lot of guards. And you get back, you trade away 3, 4 bigs, and you get back in return 2 bigs. You trade away 3 bigs, you get back 2.
But Toronto gets 2 picks, right?
They get 2 firsts.
And 2 firsts and Wood.
And Wiseman, and Kuminga, and Moody, and Josh Green. Like
Raptors don't need Josh Green.
They don't need him, but I mean, like if you're gonna rebuild, just take the young dude, I guess.
I mean, you take him, but if you're the Mavericks, I think you try to not give Josh Green away as much as possible. If you can give like Hardy away instead, you do that.
So let's see if that would work because I'm have the trade up just hypothetically. So if we did
Okay.
Hardy to Toronto, it doesn't work because you need to cut like 2 more million from Dallas. And at that point, I could maybe throw in Theo Pinson, I guess, to Toronto, and it works. So it'd be even more players going to Toronto. It'd be 7 players for Toronto. They would get Wood, Wiseman, Kuminga, Moody, Theo Pinson, who's on an expiring deal, so that doesn't really do much. Ryan Rollins, Jaden Hardy, 2 firsts, and everything else stays the same.
Okay. I mean, I don't. If you're not giving up Josh Green, I like the deal better. So that'd be like an A deal because then you have like that other role player that I still think you need.
And
Like
low-key,
Luka needs
it's,
him.
it's more in the Raptors' best interest anyway to get Jaden Hardy over Josh Green
Why is that?
because Jaden Hardy has higher potential than Josh Green.
Mm,
Jaden Hardy was a top 5 projected pick in the beginning of last year's draft, and then he
Yeah.
started taking terrible shots and not showing he could be a top 5 pick, and then he fell. But,
Josh
I mean,
Green.
he can easily get coached up though. That's the thing.
right by
Can he?
Toronto. Come on now, Toronto of all teams.
Toronto.
I feel like.
Have you even seen Jaden Hardy play?
Yeah, I watched when I was looking at his what's it called. When I was scouting him coming into the year. I mean, I don't think he's played very much for Dallas, but he's been in the G League, so
I want to see how much.
I think he has potential. I mean, like I think
Yeah, he has potential. I just don't want to give up Josh Green. I just really don't want to give him up. If I was Dallas.
So we got Christian Wood, James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Theo Pinson, Ryan Rollins, Jaden Hardy, 2 firsts to wrap Toronto. The Mavericks get Pascal Thaddeus Young and Iggy, and the Warriors get Dorian Finney-Smith, Otto Porter Jr., and JaVale McGee. As far as how this affects the cap space situation for each team, Toronto would free up $12 million in cap space. Dallas would lose $11 million in cap space. And then the Warriors would stay about the same. They would lose under $1 million, $850,000 in cap.
Okay.
I think it's a fair
It's
deal.
fine.
Now that I'm looking at Josh Green and Hardy stats, I mean Josh Green only has like 2 more points, but I've seen a lot more like flashes of Josh Green. So
For like a championship team, I want Josh Green more than I want Jaden Hardy. But for a rebuilding team, I want Jaden Hardy more than I want Josh Green.
Okay. I get that for sure.
Sure.
I just watched Josh Green so much. I'm just like, I just don't want to give him up. That's all. But yeah. So I guess you convinced me.
Out of all of these trades, right? Because we did 12, right? We did
Three-
about 12. I'd
three-
say.
Yeah.
Would you say most of these are realistic? Like, how many of these could you see actually happening? Out of yours 3, Frank, how do you see any of your 3 realistically happening this trade deadline?
Okay. So the Jazz with Russell and Conley. I really like the trade. If you're gonna, the only way this happens is if they bet on the Timberwolves to be bad.
Still being bad, like regardless.
Right. But you guys think it wasn't realistic? They wouldn't do it, so we're just gonna say that one's out. Memphis, Desire Williams and Danny Green. I'd probably say one of my trades is actually realistic, which is the John Collins and the for Duncan Robinson and Caleb Martin in the
Yeah,
first.
because they clearly already said they wanted to go get him. So
Right, it's two mutual teams want to give away John Collins and get John Collins. So I just think that's most realistic. So I think I'd say 1.
for you, Ethan, how many do you think are possibilities?
I mean, I already put like a high price for John Collins when his price is like really low. But the one that I do see like realistic is the gosh, what was it? I just had it. Cam Reddish for Sadiq Bey. I mean, that's
I see it a little bit.
I mean, maybe the Jeremy Grant one, but it has its
Jeremy Grant one, if the Blazers finally realized that like they're not good enough to win a
Yeah.
championship.
it has its ifs attached to it. If Dame if he just stops dropping 40 every week or every day, then maybe they'll realize, oh, we're not built for this playoff thing.
Right.
We need a blow.
I think for me, since I had the most trades, I think my Pistons Gallinari for Nerlens Noel thing was pretty realistic. I think that makes sense for both sides. I know I got a little flack for my Kelly Olynyk for a first round pick trade. So I don't think that's realistic. Although I think every team wins, in my opinion, still.
Yeah.
I just don't think those three teams can really pull off a deal. With the Thunder losing to Houston tonight, I think they're gonna move towards because we're both close to the 6th seed, but we're also close to being one of the worst teams in the league. We're like right in the middle because everyone's so close. I think with us losing to Houston, we move towards more of a losing approach. Probably won't fully tank, but we're not going to make a move to, go buy into the playoffs. So I think both of the trades for OG Anunoby and Jared Vanderbilt are realistic, but I just don't see happening. The Mike Conley, Jared Vanderbilt thing is a lot of players. I think it's somewhat realistic. I think Mike Conley and Jared Vanderbilt are both players who fit the niches of what the Clippers are looking for. I don't know if they're willing to pay this asking price, but the pressure is on. So I think if it's on a possibility scale, it's possible, I'd say. Baisley for Vanderbilt not happening. The Pascal thing, not gonna happen. There's no way. If that trade happened, even if it didn't have the specific players, something similar happened, I'd be shocked. It's not gonna happen. So I think I have about 2. And they were the small ones, not the big ones.
Okay. That big one though, like you made that? That's pretty good. Like
That's really good.
yeah, like
It took a lot. It's so hard to make 3-team
Yeah.
trades because of the money reasons, but I think that was a decent attempt.
Yeah, I
Bro,
think so.
I struggle with just 2, trying to make the money work. Like,
Yeah, the money situation in the league is really messed up right now. And the value for everyone is really messed up. So
inflation.
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
And for real,
Inflation.
inflation. Like Rudy Gobert got traded for 5 first-round picks. I mean,
That's crazy.
a defensive-minded center is not getting traded for 5 first-round picks even last year. Inflation in the NBA is insane.
It's like Uncle Drew said, a good offense is a good defense. You know what I'm
Right. Good defense is not good offense all the time, though. So
That's true.
um,
Didn't back to the tanking though? Didn't Adam Silver say you can't tank?
but Adam Silver is insane. Because,
He's like taking action.
what do you mean I can't tank? I'm telling you, if I tell you that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is injured and I start a starting lineup of Isaiah Joe, Lindy Waters III,
Lindy
Ty
Waters.
Jerome, Kenrich Williams, and Jalen Williams, J Will, not J Dub, that's tanking. Like, you can tank. I don't know where you got that memo from.
I mean, isn't he like he's a commissioner? He do whatever the hell he wants.
I mean, yeah, but teams are still going to tank.
He's like, you can't tank, or we're gonna take a 2nd-round pick from you. So
Oh, no, my second goal. My second round pick. No.
They just care about the first.
think about the
Right.
first. That's true.
The pick you're tanking for, you can keep that, but the second, nah, bro, you're
Yeah.
pushing. Come on.
Yeah,
now.
we're gonna give it to they're gonna put in like an envelope and they're gonna give it to like
Yeah.
the Lakers or the Knicks.
The Lakers are going to draft the next Kyle Kuzma.
Kyle Kuzma with that 2nd-round pick.
Yeah, and then they're going to trade him away for a star player, and then repeat this whole process a 3rd time.
Right. And not win.
Right. We've already been recording for a bit, so I kind of want to wrap it up because I don't want this to hit
Yeah.
the 2-hour mark, even though I already think it has. We actually might be at like the 1.5-hour mark, which is where we usually stay. I think this has been a good one. I mean, I'm excited to see where if any trades happen. I think by the time we have our next episode, the trade deadline will be like that day or the day after. So hopefully there are some actual trades for us to discuss come next episode. And definitely next week will be Super Bowl preview. We could have did it this week, but the Super Bowl is not this weekend, so we want to save it for the week the Super Bowl actually takes place. But yeah, thank you for watching. We'll be back next week, same day, hopefully same time. Peace.
Jokic